I have the deepest appreciation, Nadine, to let me talk to your wonderful audience, because these people, yourself included, and these people watching this program, I refer to them as cultural creatives. I go, what does that mean? I say, the old system is falling apart. You want to build a new system? You don't fix the old one. That's broken.
Yes.
You step outside and you create a new culture, a new community. And this is seeded by people who are thinking different than those, what I say, in the box. I say, no, thinking in the box is broken. Step outside the box, create another way of life, another way of civilization, another way of, how do I spend my days here? And all of a sudden, then guess what? You're creating a new consciousness where people that are struggling will come over here, because the only way out of the struggle is to get outside the box. And you have to be a cultural creative. And so you're a cultural creative. But then I want people to understand, this audience, if you're listening to this program, then by definition, you're a cultural creative. I say, why? Because you're looking for answers that you're not going to get from the conventional TV show or the conventional news media. You're looking for answers that can make a difference.
Hallo Herz, schön, dass du eingeschaltet hast. Ich bin Nadine Gerhardt und dieser Podcast ist mein absolutes Herzensprojekt, um dich zu inspirieren auf deinem ganz individuellen Weg zu mehr Fülle, Liebe und Lebensfreude. Hallo du wundervolle Seele! Happy Monday! Heute sind wir wieder zurück im HEITER BIS SONNIG Podcast und der Name spricht heute mal wieder Bände. Ich strahle von einem Ort zum nächsten, denn ich habe mich sage und schreibe 1,5 Jahre auf dieses Interview gefreut, obwohl ich nicht wusste, ob es überhaupt stattfinden wird, ob ich überhaupt eine Zusage bekomme. Und tada, die Zusage kam. Und ich empfehle dir heute den Podcast, diese Episode, am besten sogar auf YouTube anzuschauen, denn da siehst du diesen Mann auch. Er trägt so viel Liebe in sich. Oh Gott, ich hätte einmal durch die Kamera hüpfen können, ich hätte ihn dauerknuddeln können. Wir hatten so viel Spaß vor dem Interview, wir hatten so viel Spaß nach dem Interview und mittendrin sowieso. Und ja, dieser Mann ist einfach bombastisch. Das Interview ist bombastisch. Ich spreche von keinem Geringeren als dem Pionier der neuen Wissenschaft, Dr. Bruce Lipton. Und über was sprechen wir? Ich mache es kurz. Wir sprechen darüber, wie wir im Einzelnen wie auch im Kollektiv vom Opferbewusstsein ins Schöpferbewusstsein hineintreten, in unsere Eigenmacht, in unsere Schöpfermacht. Denn hier sind wir handlungsfähig. Hier können wir uns die Welt erschaffen, die wir uns erwünschen oder die wir uns wünschen. Und du wirst an einer Stelle zweimal einen Piep von mir hören, wo ich so einen eigenen Überton einfach drüber setze. Wenn du mir bei Social Media folgst, dann wirst du bestimmt wissen, warum ich diesen Piep da setze. Und wenn nicht, ist es auch nicht so schlimm. Du wirst es trotzdem verstehen, um was es geht bei diesem Thema. Ganz, ganz viel Freude mit diesem ganz besonderen, zauberhaften Interview.
We are in the evolution that I have described earlier in my book, Spontaneous Evolution. We're in it right now, and people are afraid, and if they understand what's going on, maybe they won't be afraid, because we need to break this system to create one that we could survive with. So
yes,
it's an important time.
It's very important, because here in Germany there's so much fear right now, so much fear, because money about I have not enough money, but we are rich here, right? And they are afraid about heating and everything. It's so
I know,
big.
and you got to be careful, because fear generates reality.
Yes, that's true.
You know, the U.S., the center of the United States, they call it the bread basket. They say that because most of the agriculture is in the center. And in 1929, the bread basket turned into what is called the Dust bowl. It turned out no more plants grew, dust storms and, dirt and no growth and nothing going on. It was the Dust Bowl from 1929 to 1939.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing was the Great Depression was 1929 to 1940. And basically is when humans lost their spirit and hope. That was, the Depression took away hope and spirit. It doesn't just affect the humans, it affects everything in the environment. So the Dust Bowl was not an accident, it was nature reflecting human nature.
Amazing, amazing. So we are starting already.
Yes, because we should use every second of our time.
So first of all, I'm really, really happy that you are here in the HEITER BIS SONNIG Podcast, because today it's the World Day of Gratitude. So it's like, wow. And yes, I'm sure your assistant was like, oh my gosh, an email again from Nadine, please. Maybe she begged you that you come into the podcast, and yeah, you did. So thank you and welcome, Dr. Bruce Lipton.
Well, Nadine, I am so honored to be here, especially, Gratitude Day. I live in gratitude because most of my life was like everybody else's life, the fears, the concerns, and all that stuff. And then the science, the new biology that I learned, recognized, oh my goodness, I'm not a victim, I'm a creator. And all of a sudden I said, well, if I'm the creator, let's change this picture. And now I live every day. The truth be, I live heaven on earth every day, because I recognize this is a place of creation. And then I took power over my creation. And as a result, I live heaven on earth, because that's my creation.
Right. So people often only go another way when the way stops, the way it comes to an end, and the pain and the suffering is so big. How can this be changed?
Well, the idea is this. Let's start with a simple fact of physics, okay?
Right.
And quantum physics, I'm not going to go into detail, but quantum physics is the most valid or the most truthful of all the sciences. And principle number one, since 1927, human consciousness is creating life experiences. That's a principle of the most valid science. And in that science, there was another interesting fact that says that everything is energy. That's quantum physics. The conventional ones we learned, it was called Newtonian physics, which said, oh, the universe is made out of matter and the universe is made out of energy, two different things. And quantum physics, almost 100 years ago, said, no, everything is energy. We are energy. We're actually, in the terms of energy, each of us is a unique energy field. And I say, what's a field? Well, it's a force of energy. And I say, well, I love it. Here's the definition of field. Invisible moving forces that influence the physical world. And I go, okay, that's interesting. And I say, guess what? Spirit, definition. Invisible moving forces that influence the physical world. Quantum physics is revealing that we are spiritual entities. And the most important insight, there's so many things that come from this, but number one, you can't die. You're not even in here. You're a spirit. This is like a television set. You're watching the Bruce TV. And the Bruce show I got antennas on my cells that pick up a broadcast. And Bruce is the broadcast and is playing on this TV. When you watch a TV and it breaks, we say, TV is dead. I go, tot, dead, gone. I say, is the broadcast still there? And they say, yes, the broadcast, you get another TV. And when you tune it to the station, the show is back on, but in a different TV. In physics, it says who we are spiritual energy fields playing through this mechanism. And that this mechanism, like a TV. So if the body dies, the broadcast is still there. And a future TV will have the same antennas that you have, and you'll be back, but in a different TV. Does it make a difference, male or female? I say, no, that's the TV. That's not the broadcast. I say, does it make a difference? It's white, brown, black, red, yellow. I say, no, that's the TV. That's not the broadcast. We're the broadcast. And the new science that backs up the physics is called epigenetics. When I was teaching in medical school, I was teaching genetics, or specifically genetic determinism. So what does that mean? It means this: the belief that most people have is that the genes control their lives, and that they didn't pick the genes as far as they know, can't change the genes, and the genes turn on and off by themselves. That's what the program is. I say, when you put that together, then guess what? We're victims of our heredity. What was carrying the genes in the family we could get. And so there were all these diseases connected to genes. And I go, no, it's not genes that cause the disease. Less than 1% of disease is connected to genes. 90% of illness, stress. And this world is in full stress. And the health crisis is getting bigger every day because of the stress. And I go, the genes don't cause this. The new science, epigenetics. Remember I said I was teaching genetics, which, let's say, genetic control, which means control by genes. But the new science is called epigenetic control. I say, what does that mean? Epi means above. We want to talk about skin. In science, we say epidermis. I go, what does it mean? Above the dermis. I go, yes, just underneath the skin is a layer called dermis. Epidermis means above dermis. Epigenetic control means control control above the genes. And I go, well, what's different? The genes, genes do not turn on and off. That's a fact. There's no on and off to a gene. A gene is a blueprint to make the parts of the body. And I go into an architect's office, and let's say she's working on a blueprint, and you ask her, you say, is your blueprint on or off? And she would look at you, you're crazy. There's no on and off to a blueprint. I go, exactly. Genes are just blueprints. The mind is the architect. The mind controls the genes. And then I said, well, wait, in the old story, genes control themselves. I'm a victim. Today's story is my mind controls the genes and I control my mind. So I'm not a victim of my genes. I'm master of my genes.
Oh, wow.
And your mind creates, let me just, if I could simplify it the simplest way. We say the cells, inside the cells are the genes inside with the nucleus. They call the nucleus the structure, okay? And in the books right now, you could go anywhere where you are, school is there. I say, look, and it says, the nucleus of the cell is the brain of the cell. I said, what does that mean? Well, the genes are in the nucleus. So they say the genes are like nerve cells, turn on and turn off and control things. So they said the nucleus is the brain. It's like, no. The nucleus is the reproductive organ, the gonad of the cell. It's reproduction. That's what the DNA does, reproduces the body, the cells, a reproduction. The brain of the cell is the skin. And I go, you know what's interesting? In the embryo of the human, the skin on the back turns in and becomes the spinal cord and the brain. So both the cell and the human the brain comes from the skin. Okay. So I say, so genes do not control. I say, no, the environment, the cell will adjust. Like if you go outside right now and it's cold out, then you feel cold on the skin, which is reading the environment. Then it will cause your body to warm up. Okay, so you stay warm. Or in the summertime, you go out and you feel that it's hot out. Then the temperature will cause the body to go to a lower temperature, cool off. Okay, so I say, genes had no control over this. Environment controls this. I go, this is what we now find. Genes have really not very much control. It's the environment. Okay. So then all of a sudden I have to say this, the cells in my body, my body is like a culture dish, a skin covered culture dish inside, 50 trillion cells inside.
Wow.
But they have to grow in the environment. And I said, what's the environment? The blood is what we call the culture medium. This is where the cells live, in blood. Then my research showed the chemistry of the blood controlled the genes. So I said, oh, the blood controls the genes. And I go, yeah. And then I say, well, who controls the chemistry? I say, the brain is the chemist that puts the chemistry into the blood that controls the genes. And then the most important question, what chemistry should the brain put into the blood? And the answer, whatever picture you have in your mind, love, fear, anger, sadness, the brain translates that picture into chemistry, which goes into the blood, and the blood goes to the cells and controls the biology.
Wow.
Then if you understand this, you're not controlled by the genes, you're controlled by the picture in your mind. And most of us, as you said, today's world, the picture is scary. The picture is fear. It's not going to work. Things are going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's like that. And then I say, when those pictures are in the mind, the chemistry puts stress hormones into the body. And the stress hormones shut down the growth of the body to get ready for a run from that tiger, that saber-toothed tiger is chasing you. So you want all the blood in your arms and legs. So I say, the stress hormones squeeze the blood vessels in the gut, which is where the maintenance of the body, re-cleaning of the body, refueling the body, all takes place inside. But when you're running from a tiger, I don't care about this right now. I need to get all the energy into my arms and legs. So stress hormones shut the blood vessels in the gut. And when people are afraid, they say, I feel butterflies in my stomach. I feel fluttering. I go, what you are feeling is the blood vessels are squeezing shut and pushing the blood from the inside here to the arms and to the legs so I could run in fear.
Wow.
So number one, stress shuts down the growth of the body to put the energy into run, fight, flight, okay? Number two, very critical, stress hormones shut off the immune system. And the reason is the immune system protects you of something on the inside that gets in there. And the immune system uses a lot of energy. Sometimes when people are sick, they don't have energy to get out of the bed. So if you're being chased by a tiger, do you want the immune system to work? I go, no, I need all the energy to run away from the tiger. So stress hormones shut down the immune system. Okay. And there's one last thing that stress hormones do. Remember I said they squeeze the blood vessels in the gut shut, and that pushes the blood to the muscles. The stress hormones cause the blood vessels in the front brain here, which is conscious thinking brain. It causes the blood vessels to squeeze shut, just like here. But when it does, then the blood gets pushed to the hindbrain, That's where the reflexes, reactions occur. So we get less intelligent when we're fear, because fear says, somebody help me, I'm a victim, help me, I'm a victim. Why? Because the brain is saying, I can't, this is nothing I can do with, I'm just a victim. So let's put three things together, okay? And this program of how it works was a million years ago. It was created, not today. And I say, what did we have to be afraid of? Let's say 100,000 years ago. Why do we need to get stressed? What would cause that? I say, saber-toothed tiger. If it shows up, you got to run like crazy and escape. So I say, here's the difference between then and today. In history, if you escape the tiger, 10 minutes of running, if you escape the tiger, then there's no more fear. And so fear was only a short number of minutes. And then you shut, and the system that was shutting you down is only for a few minutes. And then when you're free of the tiger, everything opens up, the stomach opens up, the brain opens up, the immune system, everything's good. Difference is today, fears are all day, all week, all year. I go, the human biology was not designed to be in fear more than a few minutes at a time because it shuts everything down. But in our world, the fear, even like the COVID story, and people got afraid and they wouldn't talk to each other and they separate from each other and they don't get close and they stay home. And that was fear. And that fear causes what? Stress hormones. And I say, then what do stress hormones do? Well, they cause my immune system to shut down. I go, that's not what you want. If the virus is coming, I don't want my immune system shut down. I want my immune system working. But the fear that you heard on the news, the fear you saw on the web or the fear on the television set, that causes people to become weaker for the virus. Right. Did the virus, was it that strong? It killed people? I go, nope. People go, but a lot of people died. I go, yes. Not because, listen, people died not because the virus was that strong. People died because they were not healthy. That most of them were overweight. Most of them had diabetes. Most of them were senior citizens whose mind and immune system isn't working that good anyway. But younger people, healthier people, it was better to get the virus than to get the vaccine. Because it's side effects I don't want to get into because it's too many right now. But the point was this, people got afraid. And I say, what did people do when they're afraid? I said, they hid from each other and they went to their own places. And what I want people to understand is we as a population only have power when we form a community. If people are separated into separate pieces, there is no community and people have no power. And that's just what happened in COVID. We lost the power and we bought somebody who said, this is what you do. Yes. Who said that?
Yes. Yeah. And here in Germany, we have a new illness in the summer because there were a lot of people, they had, I only know the word in German when you like, you know what I mean?
A cough, a flu.
A cough, it's not really a flu, but they said it's a new illness because our immune system is like that because of the masks. So
yes, because oxygen is what makes us work. And when you start breathing, you get some oxygen, but you get more of the carbon dioxide you're breathing out. But if it can't go, if the mask is on, the carbon dioxide doesn't go out, it stays in the mask. Then I said, what's your next breath? I said, carbon dioxide, not oxygen. And this is a problem. The whole thing, I'm very sorry to say, because I'm saying this as it's not just an idea about immunology. I've been a professor of immunology for the last 12 years. So when I heard this story come in, I go, this doesn't sound right to me. And it's not, because now we're seeing all the results, the side effects, young people dying of heart attacks. Never happened like this before. All kinds of problems coming. This is from that, it's an experimental vaccine. Well,
Wow.
we were the rats in the experiment. And guess what? It's not a good program at all. It actually made people sicker and resulted in more people dying than helping people. Rather than saying, hide and separate from each other, the news and the government should have saying, get healthy, start to exercise, eat better food, meditate, get rid of stress. These are the things that cause you to get sick, not the virus.
Yeah. Amazing. Oh, it's yeah, it's so important words you say. It's yeah, it's big, and people need to know that.
They do, because they don't realize just watching the TV made the immune system weak.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like when my television, my body is ill, like not only maybe I have tinnitus or back pain. I see a lot of people which are they identify themselves with the illness,
Yes.
right? Like
Yeah,
I am the tinnitus, I am the back pain. How
yes.
can we change that?
You have to change this to recognize something right now, the most important thing in the world, and that is this: genes are only responsible for less than 1% of illness. So the first thing is, then where is illness coming from? Not from the genes. It's coming from the fact that we are no longer healthy humans. We're not exercising, we're eating terrible food and lots of it. The sugar and the carbohydrates that we eat this is not a human diet. This is what we learned with agriculture.
Right.
We didn't eat like this before. And so we're not being healthy. And what happens is, in nature, let's just say, wolves chase like a herd of deer. I go, the wolf does not attack the strongest deer. The wolf always takes the weakest deer, because that's the one they're going to catch, the weakest one. But this is nature's way, because what it says, it eliminates the weaker population from creating more weak population, but it gives the power to the strong ones, which the wolves never attack the strong ones. Okay. The virus is like a wolf. The human population at the edges, very unhealthy, extremely unhealthy. As I said, 70% were extremely obese and 70-some% were diabetic. And then there's heart disease in the number, and stress. And I say, these are where the illness came from. And you blame the virus. I go, when they started doing testing, they found that I think 40% of the people that took the test that was positive, they didn't even know they had a virus.
Right.
Why? If the immune system is working, it will eliminate the virus. But if the word compromise the immune system, it's not able to work with the virus. And this is why the wrong message: don't hide, get stronger. That's nature telling you, don't be the weak one, because you're going to lose. Weak ones always drop out at some point.
Yes. What else could we learn from nature?
Well, one of the most important things is that a garden is not a battleground. The Garden of Eden wasn't a battleground, because a garden is everything working together to make a garden. All the insects, the animals, the plants, they all work together. That's a garden. So a garden is not a battleground, but we turned the garden into a battleground: competition, fighting one another, struggling, destroying the ecosystem. So, well, nature is cooperation. Humans are competition. That's two different things. Cooperation, we work together. Competition, I beat you. I'm the winner, you're the loser. That's what we're doing here. It's like, This doesn't work in a garden. There's no competition. A garden is cooperation. So we are in a learning phase right now. We've been separated from each other. We separate based on the race. We separate based on religion. We separate based on the economy and politics and separation. I go, that's the failure of human civilization, because our evolution is not separation. Our evolution is coming together and recognize each one of us as a piece of something bigger called humanity. We're humans. We're cells in something bigger called humanity. But humanity means all the cells have to come together. And right now, the human population and human illness are both the same. Autoimmune disease. Autoimmune disease means self-destruction. The human population is undergoing self-destruction. We're fighting each other and doing all that blah, blah. Nobody's helping each other. And what's going on in the human outer world is also one of the highest illnesses that humans have is self-destruction, cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes type 2. These aren't genetic. These are not living in harmony. So the message is there. If you want to survive on this planet, it's not competition for fitness. It's cooperation and harmony. And this is why we had to be careful, because, for example, the COVID story took away cooperation and harmony. It was gone. I go, that's the opposite of evolution. Yeah. Evolution is come together and work in harmony with each other.
Right. And what I feel is that there's one side which the people are very rich, and the other side, the people, has nothing. And the world, everything comes because we need to go into a balance back again, right?
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons NASA is the big science institute in the United States. They did a research project around the world. And what they found is this, it's a fact, and they published the article, that human civilization is described as industrial civilization. That's the one we're in. According to the article, industrial civilization is facing, and I want to emphasize the word in English, irreversible collapse. Irreversible collapse means it's collapsing, but it's not going back. It's irreversible. To survive, we have to build something else. You can't go back and fix this one. This is the one where the problem is. Yeah. So when you see civilization falling apart, which scares most people, it makes the stress hormones, makes them sick. I go, no. When you see it falling apart, you go, thank you. You go, what do you mean? I go, because it's the civilization that we're in that is destroying the environment and leading to our own extinction. And how long did NASA say it would be for this irreversible collapse? You ready? 20 years maybe, or less. And so it says, okay, listen, folks, this world is going through change right now. You see the change. What you see is the falling down of the structure. It's not working. I go, this is a good. I say, why? Because it's the structure of civilization that is causing the problem. You want to survive, you have to build a different civilization, one that's based on different principles of spirituality, harmony, love, cooperation, not this one based on fear and violence and all that stuff. That's the wrong one. And this is destructive. We're destroying ourselves. So the way out is to do something like you're doing, Nadine. Let's give knowledge to people, because there's an old saying that everyone has heard. Knowledge is power. And I go, everyone knows that. And I said, well, let me say the same thing, because it's more, if I say it this way, it's more important. I go, a lack of knowledge is a lack of power. What you don't know will disempower you. And I'm saying the beliefs that we have today, they're fundamentally flawed. Number one, people say, well, genes control my life. I say that's 100% wrong. You control the genes. If you understand that, then there's a different outcome. Instead of saying, oh, I got a cancer gene, I go, there's no gene that causes cancer. Not one gene causes cancer. A life not in harmony causes cancer. The gene will be activated when there's disharmony. But the gene doesn't get activated if you're living happy and healthy and loving. And that's why women that carry the breast cancer gene, they're so afraid. I got the breast cancer gene. I'm going to get cancer. And the picture in their mind is a picture of cancer and disease. And I go, stop. 50% of the women that carry the cancer gene never get the cancer. There's a point, and it is having the gene doesn't mean you get cancer. Having the gene and not living in harmony is what causes cancer. So you can kill all the cancer cells. I say they're not the problem. That's the result of a problem. First, it was the lack of harmony, and that made disharmony in this body, which leads to a cancer. So we have to get rid of beliefs that are not supporting us. That one, for example. The other belief is we separate the universe into matter, physical things, and energy, invisible forces. And then in history, we say whatever's made out of matter can only be affected by matter. So I go, oh, humans are made out of matter. So guess what they say? The only way you can fix your life is to buy a chemical, a drug. I go, absolutely wrong, because we're actually energy. And this is quantum physics. And it's hard for people to believe because we live every day in what looks like, oh, look, I just touched myself. It's physical, you know, it's like, that's an illusion of energy. We don't have that much time to talk about it, but that's an illusion. And I go, well, the significance is this: energy affects energy. I go, what energy affects this energy? I go, consciousness. And this is the new thing. We have to get out of matter and energy as separate because they put spirit over here. They say, oh, spirit's over here. No, that doesn't connect to matter. Matter is separate from energy. So spirituality disappeared. People go to church, they say the words on Sunday afternoon, they forget the words until next Sunday. Then they come back and say the words again. So
that's true.
The idea is you have to know something that I didn't believe in as a scientist. I did not believe in spirituality. And I said, when I was teaching a long time ago, I was teaching genes, genetic determinism. There's no spirituality. But when I started getting into quantum physics and understand more about the nature of the cells, the fact is that's where I said, we're in a broadcast, just like a TV broadcast. No two people have the same set of antennas. And I go, what does that mean? I say, it's like on the radio, you got a dial. You can go from station to turn it. There's another station, turn it. There's another station. Each of us is like a station on a very giant radio receiving our own broadcast. You do not have the same receptors that I have. No two people have the same. This is why we can't change parts with each other. I can't put an organ into your body because your cells know self. They know the cells with the right antennas on them, your antennas. If you put in a different cell with different antennas on it, the immune system says not self. So if I transplanted a kidney from one person to another, the recipient of the kidney, they're not spiritually the same people, they're different. So their immune system will say not self and try to eliminate the graft. Okay, that's why I said they gave them stress hormones so that the immune system wouldn't do that. So now it says every one of us is a different self. Why? You can't change parts with each other. We have like a serial number on our cells, different from each person. So I go, significance of that. The significance of that, each of us is receiving a different broadcast field, energy, than anybody else. You receive a different one from me. I have a different one than you. No two people have the same. And I say, so what's the broadcast? I go, well, I just said in physics, they call it a field, but it's the same definition as spirit. And when I started to understand the physics, I said, oh my God, I'm not in here. And the first thing that happened in my whole life was this great joy that I can hardly explain. Tears were coming down my eyes as I understood the science. And the science said, I cannot die. You cannot die. You're not in here. And if the TV goes, you get another TV, you'll be back again. And I go, when I started to understand this, the first thing that came to me was, I can't die, which took off so much stress because you don't realize, just everyday person, listen, Nadine, you yourself, don't even think about it. But when you walk out on the street In the back of your head, your mind is looking at everything out there, looking for what? Something that will scare you. A mugger or somebody out there. And so every day when we wake up, our mind is trying to protect us. It's looking, it's paying attention to everything, saying, oh, that could be dangerous, or that could be dangerous, and makes your attention go, oh, stay away from this, stay away from this. So the subconscious is telling you, okay? And the day that I said, wait, I can't die, then the fear of death was what holds humans and makes them go to religion. Yeah. Because they're going to try to tell you what happens after death. I say, they have no idea what the hell happens after death as much as anybody else does. Mm-hmm. And I go, but you'll pay them. That's called religion. You'll pay them to talk about your spirit like they know about it. I say, they don't know about it. I know more about it only as biology. Mm-hmm. Biology is, we're all connected to this energy. Can you ever be disconnected from spirit? Absolutely not. Nobody can be disconnected from spirit. So do I need somebody to help spirit connect with me? I go, I am spirit. Nadine, you are spirit, but you're living in this body. And it was interesting as a scientist, and I just started to understand the physics of my antennas on my cells and the signal and how the cell control, all that. I asked myself a question. As a scientist, I just realized the first moment, I said, oh, I'm a spiritual entity that's here forever. So then I asked myself, I say, then why have a body? Why not just be the spirit? And the cells of my body answered. You know what they said to me?
No.
Ask a question like, so why have a body and a spirit? And 50 trillion cells, the answer came up. And it's so profound. You got to listen to it. And the answer was simple and profound. I said, why have both? Why not just be a spirit? And the cell said, Bruce, if you're just a spirit, what does chocolate taste like? Now you got to think about that, because all of a sudden I said, oh my God.
Oh, yes.
Vision, smell, taste, sound, touch, love, pain, fear. These are manufactured by the cells of the body. Mm-hmm. It's the eye cells that take the energy and make a picture out of it. You don't have a body, you're in the energy. Mm-hmm. But you have a body, you can see a sunset. Right. You have a body, you can feel what love is, because chemistry of love. And so all of a sudden I say the body gives us a much better experience than mm-hmm. living without a body. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, that's why we came to the planet. Mm-hmm. We came here to experience what? Love and joy and happiness. And along the way, we learned fear and pain and anger. And I said, that wasn't why we really came here. We came for the garden. We came for the joy. We came for the creation. And most of us are focusing on the wrong reason. And I said, but the picture in your mind you're focusing on will make your life. If you're figuring out fear, if you live in fear, then be concerned, because something that is fear will come into your life, because you're broadcasting fear as a thought. It's called resonance in physics. Mm-hmm. One vibration matches the other vibration. Mm-hmm. A fear vibration does not match love. So if I send out fear, will I vibrate love? I go, nope. Love has a different vibration. It's not based on fear. So all of a sudden I say, then your thoughts are going out into the world like a broadcast. And I say, a lot of people think, oh, my thoughts are in my head, because they put wires on the head and they say electroencephalograph. I read your brain function with these wires on your head. Mm-hmm. I go, guess what? There's another device called not electroencephalograph. It's called magnetoencephalograph. It reads a different energy. It reads brain function. I go, yes, it does. You ready for this? Mm-hmm. Where's the probe that reads the brain function? Out here. Mm-hmm. Stop for a second. Your brain is sending broadcasts that I could read out here. Your thoughts are not in your head. They're broadcasts. And in quantum physics, energies that are in harmony add up to more power. So if I send out a negative fear, it's not going to resonate with something positive. It will cause something negative to activate. Mm-hmm. And that's why if I send out a fear, negative fear, wonderful things are out here. I'm not going to affect them. Why? They don't have the same vibration. But something scary out there has that vibration. So if I have a negative fear, I'm broadcasting that will cause anything that's negative to come into my life.
Right.
It's like, oh my God, it's not an accident. No, we're creators.
Right.
That's why we're here. And then the greatest joy came to me with, well, not only am I experiencing what love feels like, and a good meal has a wonderful taste. We eat food not because we need to, more because it's pleasure. Get a good meal, it's like, oh, that was good. Okay, music, movies, sunsets, and all that. We came here to experience those, but we also move around, which means then we're moving, we're creating. So in my lectures, I give a story. I show a picture of what I call the Mars rover. We can't go to Mars as humans, but we send up like a little go-kart, a little small thing, a little vehicle with antennas on it, and cameras and sensors to read temperature and gas and whatever. I go, how does it work? I say, there's a guy at NASA. He sends a signal to the rover and says, go this way, do, here's where you're going to go. And as the rover is going, the cameras and the sensory receptors are sending information back to the guy at NASA. So I said, we are Earth rovers.
Right.
We're receiving a broadcast that allows us to drive around all over the place. And now we know that our experiences picked up, I can read them out here, are going back again. And I go, fact, as I see it, fact for me, Bruce Lipton, you don't die and go to heaven. You were born into heaven. This is where we came to create. And then you look around, you go, but I wouldn't have created this mess. I go, no, you've been programmed. And this is the important part, because it turns out the programs that we got loaded with before age 7 determine the rest of our lives. Right. And the Jesuits, the Catholics, they knew this. 400 years, they said to their followers, give me a child until it is 7, and I will show you the man. I go, what they know is the new science. The first 7 years is when you get programming, and the rest of your life, 95% comes from the program. So whatever the program is, that becomes your life. They knew that. And today the programming is even better than the Jesuits could do. They created Catholic school because they wanted to program the people to be Catholic for the rest of their life, which they did. That was the job. Okay. But what's interesting here is this, is that today's programming is better than even the Jesuits knew anything about. You have an infant can hardly walk and they're carrying an iPad. Right away, that's program.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Are the programs we're getting making us better people? I say, no, they're not. They're actually taking us away from each other and destroying our ability to be creative and conscious, because the computerized programs that kids watch is not creation. We didn't ask them in the program, create, draw, sing, write. No, do this, because the games are not thinking, they're reaction. How fast you can push the button, okay? So guess what? Children today are not as intelligent because the programming did not support intelligence. It supported memory. Memorize this. Memorize this. Don't think. Memorize this. And that's the programming. So a simple conclusion, which I just love, is most people have seen the movie The Matrix. And I say, in the video store, they say it's in science fiction. I go, no. The Matrix is a documentary. I go, what do you mean? Because the story says everybody's been programmed. I go, that's a fact of science. Everybody's got programmed for 7 years. So that's true story. And then I love it because they said in the movie, they said you can take a blue pill and when you wake up, you're back in the same program. But they say if you take a red pill, you get out of the program. And I want people to know out there, yes, you've been programmed, and most of you at some time took the red pill and it changed your life. I go, when was that? You ready? When you fell in love. When you fell in love, think about it this way. Your life was blah, 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 blah. And then you meet this person. 24 hours later, life is beautiful. Life is heaven on earth. Everything is wonderful. I said, how'd that happen? Because that's the first time in your life you stop playing the program. Science has recognized you don't play the programs that you got in your development when you fall in love like that and you stay in love, because then you are using your creative mind to make life and you manifested heaven on earth. So the point is this: does heaven on earth exist? I said, yeah, it's always here. And I said, well, how come I'm not experiencing it? I said, because you're playing programs 95% of the time.
Yeah.
And these programs took away your power.
Yes.
And the moment you stop playing the program, you became a creator. And what did you create? Heaven on earth. I go, that's the point. We came here to create heaven on earth, but the programming that is passed from generation to generation, parents to children, it's programming, not genes.
Yes.
Programming is passed. That is where the whole thing went wrong, because we're downloaded with programs that take away our power.
And I'm sure there are so many people outside there. They say, think about it, and they say, "Hey, I have depression. I can't sleep all night, and I have back pain. I have fatigue, and everything else. How can I change it?"
Yeah. Well, the first thing is this: the reason you have it is because that's your consciousness, actually your subconscious. You've been programmed, especially if you go to a doctor, because in the first 7 years, remember I said, just like the Jesuits, first 7 years is programming, and then after that is life. I say in the first 7 years, most people came from a family, think about this, where when somebody was sick, what did they do? Oh, we went to the doctor. Mommy got sick, she goes to the doctor. Daddy's sick, he goes to the doctor. I'm sick, I go to the doctor. I say, if you're under 7, what program did you learn? And you learn that if I am sick, I'm not the powerful one. The doctor is the powerful one. The doctor knows more than I do. And therefore, if I'm sick, whatever the doctor says, that will be true for me. And I go, you gave up your power to the voice of that doctor. I said, what if the doctor called you in the office and said, oh, you have an illness, you're going to die in 3 months. You know what? You're going to die in about 3 months, illness or no illness. It's the belief of the picture of your head, seeing yourself dying and then manifesting the picture, death. And so this has become a problem, because a lot of people with illnesses we just talked about are people who have been programmed to believe that the doctor words are true. And when the doctor says, this is your life, this is the way it's going to be, this is what's going to happen, that's not what is called a prognosis, a future. That's a prescription. Whatever that doctor said, you will subconscious, not the conscious mind will resist. No, I don't want to believe that. I don't believe that. And I go, but the conscious mind is only 5% of the day. You're running from the program that says the doctor knows and you don't. And that means that 95% of the day, whatever the doctor's words are, they become your truth. And if they don't give you empowering words, like you can heal yourself, you can overcome this, you are stronger than this, then I say, what words are they giving you? Oh, this is going to happen. It's going to go negative. You're going to lose your hair. You're going to lose your mind. You're going to blah, blah, blah. I go, oh my God, don't tell me those things. Why? Because they activate the program and I will manifest them. And that's why doctors like, hey, how'd the doctor guess the person was going to die in 3 months and they died in 3 months? I said, it wasn't a guess. He told the patient he was going to die in 3 months and the patient believed it and died in 3 months. And people don't understand that. And so they're out there suffering. Number one, they're suffering. Why? Most of them have been programmed to say there's something wrong with you and you can't fix it unless you take these drugs, or you can't fix it forever. Well, those are the limiting words. The moment you buy that prognosis, the moment you buy that belief, you will manifest that belief. The only way out is to get out of the program. You are more powerful than a doctor. It's your belief system. And that's why people have miracles, like someone has a back injury and they can't walk, and the doctor says, "You'll never walk again." And then they heal themselves. Why? Because they didn't believe the doctor, they believed in themselves. I can do this. I can do this. They healed themselves. And I said, what about the others that didn't heal? Well, they didn't heal because the doctor said they couldn't heal, and they believed it. So they just didn't heal. And you don't recognize how powerful the thoughts are, because that's the new science. Quantum physics talks about it. And the new biology, epigenetics, says the same story. Both say the same thing. Consciousness is creating this. It's creating what's happening in your body, and it's creating what's happening in your world. Now, it's very hard for people to believe that, because we've been programmed to be victims. And I go, if you believe you're a victim, then you are a victim. That's it. Yes. Belief is what controls this. And the only way out, as Nadine knows, the beautiful woman as she is, she knows consciousness is involved, that it's your mind and your heart and your spirit. When they come together, you're all powerful. You do miracles. That's what a miracle is. Something beyond science could ever imagine, when the power of the human creativity steps in and can do more than science can do. And this is where medicine is not helping us. Okay, I'll give a little side story, small side story.
Yes, please.
In 2000, the Journal of the American Medical Association, now that's a scientific journal for the American medical people, wrote that medicine is the third leading cause of death in the United States. Okay. A scientific article in the Journal of Medical People recognized a very simple truth. The first leading cause of death is heart disease. The second leading cause of death is cancer. The third leading cause of death has a Latin name, iatrogenic illness. I go, what's iatrogenic illness?
What's this?
Illness related to medical treatment.
Wow.
The third leading cause of death in the United States is the medical profession. That was in 2000. In 2016, the British Medical Journal did the same study. Conclusion: medicine is the third leading cause of death in the United States. These are two scientific papers from medical journals.
Wow.
And we have to understand this. It says, because we go there, that, only the doctor can take care of us. I go, they're the third leading cause of death. I would think about maybe going somewhere else instead of there. And this is why new versions of medicine are happening. They call it integrative medicine or alternative medicine. It's energy-based medicine, which is in alignment with quantum physics.
Wow.
And people are beginning to find that they're getting more relief working with the energy than they do with the chemical drugs offered by the pharmaceutical company. Energy healing has no side effects, which is already a good start. Energy healing works in the most amazing way, because everything is energy. So instead of trying to change the physical body with chemistry, you change it with energy. I have to be honest. I've had the most amazing life ever since I took that science and made it part of my life. And also add this, a very important fact, because we're talking about it right now. I said, at first I knew the science. I studied the cells. I saw how it worked. I did the experiments. I saw how it worked. So I wanted to tell people, I said, man, if you understand this new science, you can create the most fabulous life. And then they look at me and they go, Lipton, for a guy who says you know this stuff, your life doesn't look too great. And I realized I'm talking from my conscious brain, only working 5% of the day, giving the understanding, but 95% of the day I'm still living from the old program. So my life didn't change. It's just like reading a self-help book. Yep, you can educate the conscious mind, but the life didn't change. And I had to go, oh my God, I have to not talk the talk. I have to walk the talk.
Yes.
And that's when I realized I have to change my programs. Otherwise, my life will just play the programs out to the end. And I changed those programs. I have 2 lifetimes in one life. Up to the first 40 plus years, I was like everybody else, genes and diseases and hard work and competition.
Mm-hmm.
But ever since, I said, wait, I have to actually do these new science things, not just talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
My life changed. And I'll be honest with you, the last nearly 30 years of my life, I live heaven on earth. Every day I wake up and it's like, oh my God, I'm still here. I got another day to sunsets and maybe a great meal and enjoy my partner and go outside in nature. All these things, enjoy. Why? Because we're so busy in the competition of Darwin, trying to struggle. I say, you are struggling. What do you mean trying to struggle? You make, it says to, compete in the struggle for life. They said life is a struggle. And I go, first of all, that's wrong, because the garden doesn't struggle. The garden is harmony. And we're the ones that are struggling. And now we're destroying the garden because we lost the harmony. And this is why it's so important that your program, Nadine, reaches as many people as possible, because you're trying to give knowledge to people to empower their lives. You're a very important person. You're not just waiting for something to happen. You're making an effort to go out and help, and you get rewarded. Nature will give you health and happiness and stuff. If you're working for nature, nature will work for you. If you're against nature, life is a struggle right away,
Right.
because it's not harmony.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, I have the deepest appreciation, Nadine, to let me talk to your wonderful audience, because these people, yourself included, and these people watching this program, I refer to them as cultural creatives. I go, what does that mean? I say, the old system is falling apart. You want to build a new system? You don't fix the old one. That's broken.
Yes.
You step outside and you create a new culture, a new community. And this is seeded by people who are thinking different than those, what I say, in the box. I say, no, thinking in the box is broken. Step outside the box, create another way of life, another way of civilization, another way of, how do I spend my days here? And all of a sudden, then guess what? You're creating a new consciousness where people that are struggling will come over here, because the only way out of the struggle is to get outside the box. And you have to be a cultural creative. And so you're a cultural creative. But then I want people to understand, this audience, if you're listening to this program, then by definition, you're a cultural creative. I say, why? Because you're looking for answers that you're not going to get from the conventional TV show or the conventional news media. You're looking for answers that can make a difference. Nadine program offers you this opportunity. Listen to something different. Get a different picture in your mind, because it's the picture in your mind that is creating the world. If you're inside your mind and you see the world as heaven and happy and joy and all that, then you open your eyes, it is. But most of us don't do that, because we've been programmed to be afraid. And the more you're afraid, the more you give up power, because afraid means you're a victim. And if you're a victim, by definition, you're going to find somebody that's more powerful and say, more powerful person, help me, I am a victim. And I go, no, you're not a victim, you're a creator. Let's get organized around here.
Right.
Because I trust everybody in the audience more than I would trust a government. A government is working for people with special ends. The audience is working for themselves, trying to create a better world. And if the audience starts to get together, meaning community, then we can manifest that world.
Right.
And this, again, is why thank you very much, Nadine, for letting me talk to your cultural creative audience and offer some ideas that maybe they could take these ideas and start to say, if you're not experiencing heaven on earth, it's not that you can't. It's just your program won't let you. And understanding about programs and that. Let me just give my website, because it's a simple place to go. BruceLipton.com. All the stuff Nadine and I have been talking about here, all the stuff of changing programs and all that, free information. Go to the website, download audios, videos, written articles, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's all there.
Yes. Do you believe in a soul plan?
In a soul friend?
Plan. Soul
You mean
plan.
like a soul mate?
No, a soul plan. Like a
Oh,
soul
plan.
Plan, yes.
Oh, plan.
A soul plan, yeah.
Well, I if there's a plan, I've changed it to a better one than I came with. Because
That's
I
wonderful.
honestly will tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited to wake up every day
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much pleasure available on this planet. And most people are so worried they don't even experience that pleasure. They eat a meal just to push the food down. I say, did you taste that by any chance? Was it good?
Mm-hmm.
You know, did you see the sunset while you were driving home in your car from work? No?
No.
Oh. The idea is you're missing the planet in the competition. And the competition is what doesn't create life. It's the cooperation that creates life. It's just the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm hoping you get some ideas. You start to realize that, okay, maybe I don't have to be a victim. I say, no, you don't. You could be the master.
Yeah.
And if, you know, you seek, listen to Nadine's program. It's awakening you to new ideas when you listen to the program.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the idea. The old ideas have created the problem. Einstein, you can't use the same thinking to create the problem or to resolve the problem that thinking created. You want to change this? And we have to think different, because right now our thinking is dividing us and destroying us, and coming together in community, harmony, love is the only resolution. And when you understand that, and you understand epigenetics, how your mind is doing this, when you understand the nature that everything is energy, and most importantly, when you understand the nature, you are not the body, you are the broadcast, you are the spirit. And that's where everything comes from. Thank you.
Thank you so, so much. And I know you will come to Europe.
I am a
Very
lucky
soon.
guy. I am a lucky
Yes.
guy. I have Basel on the 14th through the 16th. It's going to be in different languages, so that there'll be earphones so you can hear this presentation. I'm going to talk about the new world, the new thinking, the new biology, the spirit, all that stuff. And then I go to Dublin and do that. And then I go to Paris and do that. Then I go to Salzburg and do it again.
Yay!
And then the last one is Budapest. And I've covered a bit of Europe on this trip. Why? It's a wake up time. Take your power back. You are not a victim. It's only a belief system, but belief controls it. You believe you're a victim? I'm sorry. I'm going to try and help you become the real master creator that you are by science, not new agey stuff. Nope, science.
If you had a magic wand and you could wish whatever you like for the world, what would it be?
That people understand what I'm understanding right now, because I took a world that was struggle, competition, all those things, and it was a change of consciousness. And I live in a completely different world. I live in a matrix world, red pill, not part of the program, creating my own program. And I have created, to my perception, heaven on earth. And that's why I say, I don't care about that idea you die and go to heaven. I'm going to live out heaven every day, because this was your chance. And if you don't live it out, one closing story, just because how sad it was. My mother remarried when she was older. And she married a guy that I wasn't, he was a cranky old man, but my mother was happy, fine. He lived to be 97. And in the last week of his life, he had cancer. In the last week, he was probably mostly not there. And my mother took care of him at home. And 2 days before he died, he's 97. 2 days before he died, his eyes are open and he's here. And he looks at my mother and he says, I didn't have any fun. I say, 97 years old, you're going to wake up on the day before you die and you're going to tell me you didn't have any fun. Sorry. Don't do that, people. Get your fun in every day. Every day you miss having fun, you don't get credit for it. You lost it. And I want you to realize life is to be joyful. And to do that, you have to stop buying the story. That story is keeping you a victim because they're selling you. They're going to sell you drugs. They're going to sell you this. They're going to sell you that. Why? Because you feel you need that. And I say, no, you don't even need the damn money if you understand the future. So I can go on forever, Nadine, but I don't think I should because I have other things to do.
I'm sure. Could I ask you one last question?
Surely you can.
Because it comes up. What do you think about psychedelics?
Very important. And let me give you a statement that makes sense out of this, okay?
Yeah.
Any drug that you take affects you because your cells have what are called receptors. These are devices that take the signal, whether it's insulin or a vitamin or a sugar or a psychedelic. There's a receptor that recognizes that signal. Well, guess what? If you have a receptor in your body, that means your body already makes that signal. I say, yeah, but if you can't touch it, you don't know what we're talking about because we're so locked up in our programming that you have to understand something. In cultures around the world, the more primitive cultures, not that they were, the coming of age was a ceremony usually involving psychedelics. And it shows how they lose the ego and they become part of a whole world. They're part of everything. And the idea of the beauty of the garden shows up and the peace and the harmony comes up on these. And I go, if you've never touched that, then taking a psychedelic is really helpful because you have to experience it. But a very important part is this. Once you start to experience it, you can make the psychedelic yourself because if you have the receptor, that meant you already were able to make the chemical, but you never knew what the experience was. So you didn't know what you were looking for. So taking a psychedelic can give you an experience. And most of them are so useful beyond belief, but they've been outlawed. I go, why did they outlaw them? Because it gives people power. It gives them who they really are. It shows how intelligent and how they're part of nature and how it's not the ego that's important. Ego separates me from you. It says that's not it. We're all connected. We're connected to everything on this planet. You're a wholeness. Can you see it without having that chemistry in your brain? I said, if you do a lot of exercises, meditation for years, and do all kinds of things, you can get there. I'll tell you the truth. If you can get there by taking a psychedelic, then take the damn psychedelic so we can move on faster. You can get there now. And once you understand how to get there, you'll ultimately realize you don't even need the psychedelic because you can just start living the experience. Do I understand? Yes, it's coming around now. Even some people like Deepak Chopra is telling people to take psychedelics. It's like, yes, psychedelics were first experimented in medical schools. And they were found how they could eliminate PTSD, stress, how they can eliminate addictive behavior, how they can eliminate depression in very quick time. And then it started to be used on the street, and the government said, no, we don't want the people. Don't use that. And the fact is, again, they don't want you to know who you are. And as I said, taking psychedelics for the experience, it's not a lifetime requirement. It's to understand the experience. And
and bring it to life, right?
It's all about expanding your full consciousness into seeing more than your windows. There was a famous writer, Aldous Huxley, and he wrote The Doors of Perception. And he said, look, if you have full perception, it overwhelms you. There's so much vision, there's so much sound, there's so many smells and tastes. If they all came in at one time, you would just be, it's too much.
Yes.
So to get a life, we had to close the windows, the doors, actually. So he said, close the doors. Don't see this much because you can focus on that. There's too much. So we closed down the doors of perception. And he wrote because he did magic mushrooms and acid. And I said, what did he learn? He wrote a whole book, Doors of Perception. He said, we have closed down these doors, but these drugs open up the doors. And when these drugs open up the doors, you see in a bigger reality who you are than the narrow view that our doors have been closed down. Children have a bigger view, but then parents say, children say, I saw the spirit. I didn't spirit. I saw these things and everything. And the parents say, don't tell anybody. Keep it secret. That's crazy talk. I go, no, that's real talk. We're crazy because we shut the window, shut the door. So yeah. Psychedelics are a major part of healing the stresses of this planet when done in that healing mode. A lot of people make a party drug out of it, but that's not really the way I see it. I see it as a beneficial drug to open up your consciousness and allow you to see how big you really are. So it's not necessary for a party. It's for you personally. That's what it's about.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I so appreciate being here with you. And I love the joy on your face and the beauty that you are, because it's radiant, and radiation is sending out a signal. And so I appreciate your signal very, very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. And special thanks to our audience, because if they start to see who they are, then there's going to be more experience of heaven on earth. And that's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Ich bin so dankbar für dieses ganz besondere Interview. Es ist eines meiner Highlights in diesem Jahr. Ja, es ist nur ein Interview, doch ich bewundere Bruce Lipton sehr für all das, was er geschaffen hat, für all das, was er rausgibt. Er ist einer der wenigen Menschen in dieser Szene, die so auf dem Boden geblieben ist, so menschlich in Anführungsstrichen geblieben ist und so auf Augenhöhe begegnet. Es ist nicht selbstverständlich, dass dieser Mann für so eine, in Anführungsstrichen, kleine Audience, wie er jetzt sagen würde, zusagt. Und deswegen, es ist so tief in meinem Herzen abgespeichert. Ich bin sehr, sehr dankbar dafür. Und ich hoffe sehr, dass dich diese Worte erreichen. Und wenn dich diese Worte erreicht haben, dann bitte ich dich sehr, das Interview an so viele Menschen wie möglich zu verteilen. Natürlich Seelen, ne? Aber du weißt, was ich meine. Denn wir entscheiden, ob wir Himmel auf Erden haben oder Hölle auf Erden. Ich werde Bruce' Website und alle seine Informationen in den Shownotes verlinken. Du wirst meine Website finden. Ich freue mich auf alle Veranstaltungen diesem Herbst, Winter, wo wir uns live wie auch online begegnen. Schau gerne auf meiner Website nadinegerhard.com vorbei. Es werden die Rauhnächte kommen, wo wir ganz intensiv eintauchen werden in ein Live-Gathering, 14-tägige Live-Begleitung. Es geht auf Retreats, wir gehen nach Island und wir sind schon eine ganz, ganz tolle Gruppe. Es geht nach Schlangenbad, nach Schlangenbad aufs Rebirthing Retreat. Wir werden nach Südafrika gehen im Februar. Es kommen ganz tolle Sachen und natürlich noch viel mehr. Kundalini-Yoga, Aufstellungsarbeit und. Check it out. Und wenn du magst, melde dich zum Love Letter an. Ich freue mich über jeden Kontakt und dass wir als Gemeinschaft, und dieses Wort Gemeinschaft betone ich nochmal doppelt, weil Bruce Lipton hat nochmal sehr stark darauf hingewiesen, dass wir in Gemeinschaft diese neue Welt erschaffen.